In this video, I'm going to be showing you the difference between the bright and light air drying clay and the soft then strong air drying polymer clay from FMM Claycraft. Now the difference between the two is that the bright and light air drying clay is actually made from a paper pulp and glue mixture. So it's ideal for maybe embellishments for cards, for your canvases, but basically it's anything that you're going to make that is going to stay inside. Now if you're going to be using the soft then strong, the type of projects that you're going to be creating are projects that maybe you want to actually put outside. They're going to come into contact with water, or they're going to be handled a lot. So that is the difference between the two. Both are professional grade clays, so you can be using both of them to make the most fantastic looking flowers. This one has been made by using the bright and light clay, and as you can see, the detail is phenomenal. Every single petal there has not stuck together in the actual production of the flower, so it is a really ideal clay to be using for that. Unlike a lot of other air drying clays on the market, the bright and light clay has actually got less water content, so that's why it doesn't tend to stick to itself when you're actually making the flowers. Now the soft then strong clay will also give you the most phenomenal looking flowers, and again none of the petals actually stick together in the process of making the flowers. The only difference is that when we actually tap, and let me just tap the two flowers actually on the bench, okay, you'll hear that this one here, which has been made by the bright and light clay, there's hardly any sound at all. Where the soft and strong, once this one's set, it does go rock hard. So as I said, it's a far more durable clay. You can really just keep on handling that, and you know, nothing's gonna come away. Even though it's actually set rock hard, it is still flexible, so that's a really great benefit for lots of different projects that you could possibly be creating. Now the bright and light clay, like I say, it is still very flexible once it's dried, but like I say, really it is only for indoor use. So bear in mind which type of clay you're going to be using for which type of project. Now both clays are actually white in colour. Now obviously the flowers I've just shown you are different colours, so how do you achieve them? There's a number of different ways. You can actually mix in acrylic paint with both of the clays, or you could be using distress inks or distress oxide inks, or you can even be using watercolor pens. Basically anything that has got sort of like a watercolor content in there, you know, you're most likely going to be able to use that to color both the clays. Now when you color the soft and strong, that will actually make the colour inside waterproof. So once you've coloured it, you're not going to be able to then remove that colour, which is ideal if you're going to be putting things in an area where there's a lot of moisture, or indeed outside. So let's just quickly show you what these two clays actually work like when you're going to be using them with things like cutters and indeed moulds. So we're going to be using the bright and light air drying clay first of all. So the first thing you need to do is open the packet when you actually get it. Okay, so I'm just going to be using a craft knife here, and I'm just going to very gently just cut just into the top part of the packet just there, and then I'm just going to pull some of the clay out, and we're going to colour it, and then we're just going to cut it. I'm just going to show you it in use. So this is the clay, and you can see it is extremely soft, and also, although you can't tell, it is extremely light as well. So like I say, great for all of your card embellishments and things like that. Now keep the rest of the clay inside of the foil packet, and just tuck any loose clay back inside there, and just make sure that you get yourself one of these, which is a Ziploc bag, because that's where you're going to want to put it. It is air drying clay, so just make sure that when it's not in use, okay, you pop it into an airtight bag and then just zip that up, and then that's going to be good to go for a couple of weeks once it's actually sealed. Okay, so we're just going to be using a little bit of the clay to start with, and we're just going to colour it. So let me just start to knead that a little bit like so, and then we're just going to be using one of the distress oxide inks that I showed earlier on, and just simply pop the clay onto there, and you can see it colours really easily. Obviously, the more colour you add to your clay, the deeper the colour is going to be. But we're just going to go for a light pink in this instance. And you can see quite easily you just mix the clay together like that to form a nice even colour throughout the clay. So just keep on going until you have that colour in your clay. I always tend to go a little bit lighter of colour to start with, because like when you change the tone of a colour of paint, you can always add colour, you can't take it away. So just bear that in mind when you're going to be doing that. So let's just pop the lid back on that, and then we've just got the non-stick mat here that's also available from FMM. We have our rolling pin, and we're just going to roll out some of that clay. So just keep on going like so. Now we're just going to lift that up. Okay, I'm just going to flip that over, and then we're just going to be using one of the cutters from FMM, and we're just going to push down on that, just give it a little bit of a wiggle, and then just lift that up, remove the clay from around the edge there, and again, whatever clay you have left over, just make sure you pop that inside one of those airtight bags. So this is the clay. As you can see, as it's not set at the moment, it is extremely flexible. So to shape it even further, just use the firm foaming mat here, and then one of the tools from the FMM collection. So we're going to be using a large ball tool, and this is just to show you how you can further shape that clay. So you can see we're just thinning the clay out there and completely changing the shape of it, but just giving it a little bit more dimension. Just keep on taking that off every single time when you actually do that, just so it doesn't stick to the forming mat, and you can just keep on going round, and quite quickly, as you can see, it is nice and easy to work with. You can be creating a completely unique flower every single time. Okay, so just keep on going round, and this particular flower, even though it is quite big, it's extremely light, and you'll notice that as soon as you start to use it. So again, we're just going to go all the way around, a few more petals, and then we're done. Okay, and this one here. And obviously, if you're creating a flower, you can create a couple of different layers of the same one and just layer them one on top of each other. The type of glues you're going to be needing is a PVA style glue, but as long as the clay is actually damp, it will stick to itself. Now, to actually just form that one, so we actually want that one to dry, I just use a little tape holder like this. So this is from washi tape, and then just pop your flower in there, and then just tuck that down like so. So just helping those petals to like drape over the edge there, and then just leave that to dry. Now, drying time is dependent on the thickness of the clay, but something like that, I'm just going to say probably within about 3 or 4 hours. But if you want to leave it overnight, then all the better. So that's how you actually form the clay. Okay, so we're just going to move that one aside at the moment. We're just going to bring in some more clay that we've got. Okay, so again, it's the same colour. This time we're going to be using a mould. Now, whenever you use a mould with this clay, just make sure that you dust the mould out with some corn flour. So we've just got some corn flour here, and I'm just going to brush in to one of these wings here. So just brush the corn flour in. Now, the reason you're actually doing this is this will actually help prevent the clay from actually sticking within the mould. Okay, so just quite simply just push the clay in there. You can use your fingers, you can use one of the tools. So what I tend to do is just make sure I press all the clay right into all the nooks and crannies, the crevices within that particular mould, and then I just use one of the tools there just to bring it back inside the actual main shape that we've got. In this case, it's a wing, so just go all the way around like so. Okay, and then when you're happy that you've got it as clean as possible. Then just flex the mould like so, and then you have all of the amazing detail that is actually on that particular mould. Now again, when it's still damp, maybe you want that to go round a jar. So get your glass jar or any other type of container you're wanting to decorate, and just simply pop your clay piece over that, and then just very, very carefully just form that like so, and then again let that dry. Once it's actually dry, it will have actually dried in the shape, and then just use a silicone glue to actually stick that to your glass jar. Right, so that is the bright and light clay. So the next clay is the soft then strong. Right, we have the soft then strong clay. So again, like the other clay, we're just going to use a craft knife, just very, very carefully, just on one end of the packet, just to undo it. Now the only difference with this one is that when you actually take it out of the silver pack, the clay itself is actually in cling film. So just very, very carefully find the end of the cling film wrapper and then just undo that. Okay, so let's just take that out like so, very carefully, because you want to preserve the cling film, because you're going to want to put the clay that you don't use back into that. So I've just opened that up really carefully, and then we're just going to take some of that off of there, and then we're just going to colour that. So let's just pop that aside like so, a little bit more. Okay, and then with the clay, just wrap that back up inside your cling film. Again, making sure there's no or as little air as possible. Fold that back over, pop it back inside the foil wrapper, and then just grab yourself one of those Loctite bags that we used earlier, and again store that inside there like so, again squeezing all the air that you possibly can out, and then just zipping it tight. Right, so this is the soft then strong clay. So again, we're just going to use the Distress Oxide ink here to actually colour that. So when you use it, you'll find it's a little bit more firmer than the other clay, but to colour it is exactly the same. So again, just pop that onto the pad. It's not going to contaminate the pad, don't worry. So just a little bit of the ink on there, and then just start to mix that. And like I say, this is the clay that you're going to be wanting to make things that are possibly going to be handled a lot, or indeed for projects that are for outside use. So just keep on mixing that clay in until you get a nice consistency of colour throughout the whole clay. Okay, so there we go. We're just going to give this a little tint of the pink colour there. Okay, so again, we're going to be using the non-stick mat, and let's just roll that clay. Just get a little bit of heat in there, because you'll find the heat from your hands just makes it quite easy to actually manipulate. So just going to pop that onto our non-stick mat. We're going to use our rolling pin once again, and we're just going to roll that one back and forth on itself like so. Okay, and we're just going to take that off, flip that over, and then we're just going to use the same cutter as we used on the other clay. So again, just press that down all the way around. Okay, and then just very, very carefully take off the cutter, remove the clay. Again, just pop that inside your Ziploc bag, because that can still be used. Okay, so just pop that aside for the moment. We're just going to take our flour. Now you can see straight away this is a little bit more firmer than the other clay, but again, because it hasn't set yet, it is still very flexible. So again, just like before, we're just going to pop this onto the forming mat, and again we're just going to use a ball tool, and this is just to show you how thin you can actually get that clay. So again, every single petal that you roll out, just make sure that you're going to lift that clay up, okay, so it doesn't stick to the forming mat. So just keep on going round on all of the petals like so. Okay, so we're nearly halfway there, and you'll see that it is a really great clay to be working with, just like the other one. These are, as I've mentioned, both professional grade clays, so they are going to give you the very best results that you can actually get. The plus side obviously to the soft and strong polymer clay is that you don't have to pop it inside an oven. You know, you can just let that one air dry. Okay, and that's going to take a couple of hours, exactly like the other one, but again it's all dependent on the thickness of the clay. So they're working exactly the same way. That is the flower that we just created. Again, I'm just going to use a reel of tape there, and we're just going to push that one in like so. Just carefully pop that in there, and then you can drape those petals over exactly as we did before, and then just let that air dry. Right, so I'm just going to pop that over there for the moment, and we're just going to get some of the clay again that we used earlier. So this time we're going to be using a mould, so in exactly the same way as we did before. Just give that a little bit of a mix again. Okay, and then just using the corn flour, just pop that into the mould. Okay, give it a real good dusting, and then just tap that out as we did before. Okay, and then just pop your clay inside of your mould. Okay, now if you're using really detailed moulds, then you're probably best to actually leave the clay in the mould, but for something like this it's going to be fine. Okay, so again, using one of the tools, just tuck that clay back inside like so. Okay, go all the way around, and then just take off any excess clay like so. And then when you're happy that you've got all of the clay and all of the fine parts of that mould, then it's just a case of just pressing it down, and then once again just flexing that mould like so, and again you'll get the amazing detail that you have in your mould. So exactly as before, if you want to decorate maybe a glass vase, so we're just going to bring that same container in yet again. So it's exactly the same as before. As long as it hasn't set, okay, you can just bend that round like so. But there is a difference with this clay. Although I've actually formed it to that shape, if you're actually just going to make that particular wing as we've done here and then let it dry, okay, so this is obviously a different mould here, but this one is made from the soft and strong clay. But even though it's actually set, so you can still manipulate it an awful lot. So even though it's set, we can pop that on there, use a silicone glue to actually hold it in place, and then just simply use some cling film to wrap that round and hold that decoration in place. So if you want, like I say, you can wrap your unset clay, so this is soft and strong, onto there, but if you want, you can let it dry flat, and then you can manipulate it after, so it's entirely up to you. And even the most detailed moulds, okay, and this is one here, it is still really flexible. You can fold that almost in half and it's not going to crack. So that is a difference between the two clays from FMM Claycraft. So let's just bring in some projects that have actually been created just to show you what you can be making using both of the clays. So here are just a couple of flowers that I've actually made using a combination of both of the two different clays that we've had on today. So this is the bright and light clays. You can see really flexible but really light, and then you've got one here that has been made by the soft and strong, so that's really hard, really durable for any type of project, like I say, that is going to be used either outside or handled a lot. So here is a carnation, and I've made them both different clays. This one here is the soft then strong, and this one here is the bright and light. So as you can see, the difference between the colours, this one is almost a cream colour, the soft then strong, where the bright and light clay is more of a pure white. But as I've shown you, both of them can be coloured to whatever colour you have in your crafting stash, as long as it's water based. So they're just some of the beautiful flowers that you can be creating. So they could be completely freestanding and you can wire them all, as I've done with this one here. So I've just got 3 roses that have been made with the bright and light clay, and also some petals, and I've just wired all of those up so you can get as detailed as you want. So let's just place all those over there. Now how you can incorporate those into your project is entirely up to you, but you can be combining both different clays. We have the soft then strong here that was used with the moulds, and also on the back one there, but the flowers are actually made with the bright and light clay. And what we've actually done there, you can see we've actually cut those roses in half, but they work so well on a card. Maybe you want to decorate a plaque, so that's again really nice and easy. You can be doing that. This is using the bright and light clay again, but possibly you want this for outside. Maybe instead of the word love here, that could have your house number. So if you're going to be wanting to do that, then use the soft then strong clay. So if you're going to be doing maybe paperweights or other decorations that are going to be possibly handled a lot, again, it's the soft then strong. So it is a really great durable clay. You know, that could be handled time and time again. If you want lots of detail, again, you can use both clays, as I've done here. Flowers have been done with the soft then strong, and this time I've actually used the bright and light clay on the mould. So again, we've reversed that around. It's entirely up to you how you use them. Both clays are going to give you a professional finish every single time. So this one, I have just used the bright and light clay to produce both the flowers and the leaves, and again also on the moulds there. Whether it's card making, then the type of clay you're going to be using for your card making is definitely the bright and light clay, because it is virtually weightless. Even on a card like this, as you can see, it's a big embellishment. There's hardly any weight, so it can be birthday cards, or indeed it can be Christmas cards as well, you know, whatever sort of occasion. So let me just place those aside. Getting back to the soft then strong clay, as I said, if it's going to be a project that's going to be handled a lot, this is a pot. Maybe you've turned it into a vase. Maybe you want to put some water in there. So as I said, the soft then strong clay is waterproof. So that's the sort of clay you're going to be using. Obviously, the vase is possibly going to be handled quite a bit, so you can see how flexible and how durable that clay is for that. But maybe you want to, again, mix and match both of the clays. So this is a bottle project that I've actually created, and what I've done here, I've used on the mould areas, I've used the soft then strong to bring out all that amazing detail, and then with the flowers I've actually used the bright and light clay. But it's entirely up to you how you use all of those. So however you're going to be using the clays from FMM Claycraft in your projects, you're guaranteed that they will help give you a professional finish every single time. So whether it's card embellishments or indeed projects for canvases and indoor use, then you can be using the bright and light air drying clay. But if you're wanting to create things like jewellery or projects that are going to be handled a lot, or indeed go outside, then you can be using the soft then strong air drying polymer clay from FMM Claycrafts. But whatever you do, you can be guaranteed of a professional finish using both of these clays. Happy crafting!